Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 18th March 2017. The first article, Tamil Nadu at an inflection point. It is about Dravidian politics and the challenges they are facing as of now. So, the Dravidian politics, they have come into existence with the ideology of Ramaswamy Nayakar, who is famously called Periyar. And then we have Annadurai, Karunanidhi and MGR, and then Jayalalitha, and now where they go from here is the question. So in this context, the Dravidian politics are based on anti-Brahminism, anti-North, and anti-Hindi. So in 1964, the anti-Hindi agitation, it has provided boost to the Dravidian politics. In 1967 elections, for the first time, the DMK won the power and Congress lost it. And since then, the Dravidian politics never allowed a national party to win the elections. The national parties just played a supplementary role rather than the major role. So here, a centralized charismatic leadership, centralized administrative structure, and then mass populism based on welfare programs. These are the twin sets which made the Dravidian parties to continue their hold on the people. So the identity politics also played an important role. So in this context, the centralized leadership, charismatic leadership, is slowly fading out. With death of Chief Minister Jayalalitha and receding of Karunanidhi, is providing for this charismatic vacuum. And second, slowly the welfare politics are being replaced by developmental politics. BJP is pioneering this developmental politics. If you take UP or Uttarakhand, the regional parties slowly they are phasing it out. Or the regional parties, local satraps, these are losing their significance on local and national politics. So, will it affect Tamil Nadu too is the major question. So, if we observe the twin factors that led to the Dravidian hegemony or Dravidian political leadership, these are crumbling now. That is a centralized charismatic leadership and then welfare politics. And the second thing is corruption charges are heavy both on the present AIA, DMK and DMK leadership. So the national parties, will they take their chance in the Tamil Nadu landscape is a major question now. Next is a roadmap for health. Now let us see, this topic is directly related to our syllabus. Let us understand it this way. The National Health Policy 2017 has kept certain targets for itself. Yesterday we have covered that. So, in this editorial, let us enumerate the problems of the healthcare sector in India. So, first is, anywhere health or education, access, affordability, quality, equity, these are very much important. So, all these are missing in healthcare in India. So, access, it means most of the healthcare services are being concentrated in urban India. Affordability, most of the expenditure, 3/4 of the expenditure is out of pocket expenditure as health is privatized. And most of the services, almost 70% of outpatient and 60% of inpatient services are given by the private sector. The affordability is very less for the poor, or the cost of healthcare services is very high in India. And there is no proper regulation or oversight on the quality of healthcare services and cost of healthcare services. Many of the social groups are disadvantaged with regard to the healthcare access in India. So, how it can be addressed? One is capacity nourishment. So, increasing the number of medical colleges and increasing the doctors and their availability in rural India. And second, availability of data. The third is having strong machinery or strong regulatory machinery and oversight machinery on quality standards of health in India. So the present healthcare policy aims to address these things. It is going to bring in diagnostic services and all the medicines at the level of rural hospitals, that the primary healthcare centers. And second is, it is going to increase, or it's going to make it compulsory for the doctors to be posted and to be serving the rural India. And above all, it aims to bring in a regulatory framework and research in the traditional medicine in India. So these are the various things which we need to understand. And for everything you need finance. So it is going to raise the GDP expenditure on health from existing 1.15% to 2.5% by 2025. But this health policy did not recognize health as a right. It aimed for comprehensive coverage of health for all, but is short of recognizing health as a fundamental right. That is what is the drawback in this. And beyond the vote. Now, with regard to this, so in European Union or across the countries in Europe, right-wing parties are gaining their significant role. Germany, France, UK, everywhere the right-wing parties are gaining their significance. Their major agenda is anti-immigration, anti-Islam, and against to the European Union. So in Dutch elections, the far-right party it did not win the elections. That is, the Party for Freedom, which is headed by Wilder, it did not win much of the seats as compared to the party of the Prime Minister, which is center-right, that is, Party for Freedom and Democracy. So it is a respite for the European Union, where it is facing a slew of allegations, that is, it is weakening the sovereignty of the nations in the European Union. And coming to the news page, the most important is Supreme Court Collegium reserves final call on judges. So let us see this article. So the Supreme Court of India, it has recommended for a memorandum of procedure on National Judicial Appointments Commission's case. So this MOP is presented by the government to the Supreme Court. The major provisions are: one is the government can reject appointment of a judge on security threat or to serve the public interest. So these are the two clauses on which government can reject. But the collegium which has reviewed this has agreed to the security threat clause and public interest clause. But it did not agree for the government's right to reject. The government can only raise objections, either to take them into consideration or not. It is going to be the responsibility of the collegium itself. So it has limited the role of the government. And second thing is, if a Supreme Court reiterates that the same judges have to be appointed, government shall go forward with it. And along with that, a secretariat will be put in place at high courts and also at the Supreme Court level to assist the collegium in the appointment of judges to the higher judiciary, and it is accepted by the Supreme Court. But however, retired and acting judges serving on this collegium is not accepted. So this is what we need to understand. Avoid blame game on national security, Mr. Jaitley. So most important developments on the defense sector, let us understand. One is defense procurement and pricing policy, which is talking about indigenously developed and manufactured goods will get indigenously designed, developed and manufactured goods. They get the priority over the imported goods. And above all, politics need to be avoided with regard to the issues of national security. Just remember this statement as a conclusion for yourself. Now, coming to the business page, assess impact of Make in India plan. So the Make in India plan, to what extent it is accommodating the interests of the micro, small, medium enterprises is a question. So in this case, the impact created by Make in India on MSME exports and MSME revival and financial flows and also employability in the sector, these are going to be assessed by a parliamentary panel. Indian drug makers face squeeze in United States. So United States has two important developments. It is imposing new quality standards and also there is protectionism which is growing under Trump. So these regulatory practices and protectionism both are expected to squeeze the Indian exports to the United States, especially the generics. And then coming to the notes, here I have covered about Dravidian politics. Remember one thing, we are not expected to remember the Dravidian politics per se, but the nature of Indian politics, that is charismatic leadership, centralization, and mass welfareistic politics, these are permanently changing in India. A roadmap for health. Here, see it from two perspectives. What are the challenges to healthcare sector? How the National Policy on Health 2017 is aiming to trying to solve it. So, in this context, always the framework has to be access, affordability, equity, equality, and quality of services. So, this has to be the framework. So, problems framework when you have to discuss. So, finances, functionaries, and then functions. So, finances, how much is the GDP expenditure? Functionaries, the capacities and availability of the doctors, and then functions. It means the global disease burden of India and how is it rising, how we shall address in the case of the health. And then, as you are going towards the privatization, public sector role. So, in the healthcare across the world, public sector played an important role. But India aims to achieve the universalization of health through privatization. So, wherever the privatization is high, then you need to have regulation and oversight of the government. So, this has to be brought in India. And then, with regard to equity, if it has to be achieved, the social groups have to be covered. Access means rural urban differences we need to talk about, regional differences. Affordability in the case of healthcare, out of pocket expenditure, and how we shall reduce it, increasing access to or making the availability of the diagnostic techniques and medicines. These are going to increase the affordability. So, in this context, Thailand is able to achieve universal healthcare within 2 years just by increasing its expenditure on medicines. So, it made all the essential medicines available through the public sector. India can raise its GDP expenditure to make the essential drugs available for free for the citizens. And quality of the healthcare. So, it means you need to develop quality parameters, quality standards, guidelines, etc. So, this can be the framework for you to deal with the healthcare sector in India. So, these are the things. These notes will be posted to you at lax.in/civils prep. And the second is, we have made the magazine available at the Image Runners store in the case of this Rajendra Nagar in New Delhi. And they are available at the Vikas bookstore in Hyderabad. Or you can collect them directly from Law Excellence IAS. So, this is what is. Thank you very much and all the best.